Ronda Rousey has been a human wrecking ball in the UFC, beating her last 3 opponents in less time than it takes to toast a Pop-Tart. Is her dominance good for the sport, or is she victim of her own success? As always, we welcome you to share your opinions and your thoughts at facebook.com/RBTL Sports, as well as on Twitter at RBTL Sports. We welcome to the show this man right here, RBTL regular. Thanks for coming back. Jesse Ferret, you are a baseball connoisseur. Great to have you.
Glad to be back.
To your right, Nick Mecazaneres. I remember seeing you sprint, Olympian sprinter. Great to have you, and thanks for taking the time. I've been chasing you down for a while. Good to see you.
Thanks.
And to my left, Anthony Cornelli, RBTL contributor. Always a pleasure to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Ronda Rousey's last fights combined less than 90 seconds. A lot of people tune in to see how the fights are going to end, which usually is an armbar. But there's a lot of people who say that she's a little bit too dominant for the UFC. Do you agree with that?
Well, what are you going to do, right? I mean, the last fight that she had that she won in 14 seconds against Kat Zingano should have been, a lot better than that. But what happens is when you throw a Hail Mary for your first pass of the game and you get picked up.
Yeah, that was bad strategy.
That's kind of what happens. I would like to see a rematch for that right away. I mean, Rousey even came out and said, I kind of feel bad. I would like to go again. But
I don't think there's much demand for that, though. I think she made a statement there with regards to that fight. I don't think there'd be any interest or any demand to see that fight go again.
I have to, guys. I don't think it's good for the UFC to have the number one fighter in the world be so dominant. I mean, I know they were both 10-0 leading up to the fight. She ended up winning in 14 seconds.
So you think she's a victim of her own success?
I think she is. I think she's becoming too much of a sex symbol for the sport right now. She's working on a modeling career, acting career, and at 28 years old, eventually the money is going to outweigh the UFC money, and she's going to have to worry about keeping her face pretty instead of getting her knuckles bloody. So she'll be the number one UFC fighter in the world. Every UFC publication right now has her ranked one. And Joe Rogan says she can beat 50% of the men in her weight category. So what is that saying for women in the UFC?
We bring that to sprinting, right? Usain Bolt clearly has been ahead of the pack for many, many years. Do you think that that's a good thing or bad thing, that there's someone that's so dominant in your sport? Do you think it turns eyes to a race to see the guy lose?
I think in sprinting, it's completely different. We're talking about a sport like UFC where it's one girl that's dominating her category. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't tune in a couple of nights ago to watch the fight if I knew that she was not such a dominant athlete in the women's division.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's always nice to see somebody dominate. We all tune in to watch to see if she's going to win or she's going to lose.
Right, but the question is that with her, the issue is that everybody knows she's going to win. There is no maybe with regards to Ronda Rousey, and the issue is it's a huge compliment because she's been able to stand ahead of everybody else in the category. But I think that long term is where we're going to feel, her contribution to the sport in the sense that it's going to motivate a lot of women to get involved in mixed martial arts. The question is right now, is it good for the sport? She's the most dominant athlete, as far as I'm concerned, the most dominant athlete, period, in the UFC. Question is it enough to get people to tune in on a regular basis? I'm not sure her next fight will gather the same type of pull as this one did.
I still think that the last fight should have been way more than it was, and I think that hurt her.
Zingano was what, like a 9-1 favorite on that, like a 10-1. I think she was like a 10-1 favorite on that, and it was a complete joke.
Yeah, and then the way it ends and everything like that, everybody that bought the pay-per-view are thinking, I just wasted my money on this. The rest of the card was great. I enjoyed the rest of it, but you come and you watch that fight. And was it the first time that it was a main event for two women fighters? Was that the first?
No, but it was the first time that, in terms of breaking the record, this was the fastest submission that had ever happened in a championship fight.
Right.
And Frank Shamrock held the record of 16 seconds. She got it in 14. So there were some records broken. It was interesting to watch. The question is, how long can this keep up? How long can they keep pushing Ronda Rousey as being a draw, and every single time it never goes past the first round?
I have to agree with you about saying that in 10 years from now, it might be good for women in the UFC. There might be more women competing
WMMA for sure is going to benefit.
WMMA competing in the UFC. But by that time, are people still going to be tuning in? Are there still going to be the money involved? Mm-hmm. If, like you had mentioned, Ronda Rousey in her last 3 fights has ended the fight in less than 90 seconds combined. Yeah. People are not going to pay that big pay-per-view money.
I think people would pay to watch her fight, because if we compare it to Mike Tyson, he was dominating, knocking people out within the first couple of rounds, and he is the name that he is today because he dominated. And I think the same thing applies for her.
Right, but even with Mike Tyson, right, you knew that he'd knock the guy out. The question is, you would tune in to watch where and when and how, and I mean, how fast would he do it? But was that the best boxing? Was it from a fan perspective? You're seeing knockouts on a regular basis, fine. The question is historically in the UFC, some of the biggest matchups have gone the distance. Some of the best matchups have gone the distance as well. But Ronda's not giving us that, right? Ronda's just complete, and we've never seen domination of this level either,
but
right?
It's better like that, I think, because when I was looking back and I saw Mike Tyson dominate, he would knock out in the first couple of rounds. And I tuned in specifically to see how long it's going to take for her to win. And that to me is a lot of fun, you know. Now, 14 seconds, I wouldn't expect that.
What are we going to do, eliminate the armbar? Just tell her not to use it
Yeah,
anymore?
no, that wouldn't be fair.
Make it a little bit more exciting? She has to knock everybody out? I mean, you know.
We're keeping it exciting right here at Reid Between the Lines. As we come back, our 4 Down segment is up next. We'll continue on. Don't go anywhere. Happening right here on Reid Between the Lines.
Reid Between the Lines is brought to you by EliteSportsTours.ca. What are you doing this weekend?
Phoenix Suns forward Markieff Morris unleashed against unhappy home fans, prompting the chicken or the egg question: what comes first, team success or fan support? Should players expect unconditional love or is it earned? We welcome back Jesse Ferret, Nick Macrozaneris, and Anthony Cornelli. He had some harsh things to say about the fans. Clearly someone who's very frustrated. Where do you draw the line with regards to the fan? Are they supposed to show unconditional support for their team?
I believe from my background, my soccer background, that fans should show an unconditional support for the team. I mean, I grew up watching my favorite team in Serie A, and it's, you die for your team in Europe or in South America or any soccer culture. You bleed for your team. You go to war every week at the stadium for your team. And I don't believe we have that type of culture in North America. You can look at the example of the Expos. I was a diehard Expos fan. Results weren't there, fans stopped coming, money wasn't there, team leaves. And that happens often.
So you think this is a cultural thing, more than anything else?
I think it's a little bit more, I don't want to, it's a very touchy subject.
But they're pretty hard though. In Europe, they're pretty hard too. I mean, a couple of guys will be very critical. I think, and I agree with you to a certain degree, that the fans in Europe very often, especially if we speak about football or soccer, they're critical I mean, they're really critical of their teams, but they won't give up on the team.
No.
They won't bash the team. And you do see a little bit more of that in North America. But on the flip side, sports business, it is sports entertainment, right? These guys are athletes. They're paid millions of dollars. And a lot of these guys will get annoyed. A lot of the fans will get annoyed with the slightest of things, especially in this Twitter era that we live in too, right?
Of course. I mean, you see the situation with the Suns. Excuse me. You see the same thing all the time with the Leafs fans throwing their jerseys and everything. I mean, they just did it at the Bell Center. They can't do it at home anymore. They're doing it at the Bell Center. I mean, if you're making the conscious choice to purchase a ticket to go watch your team play, I personally think you should have their back. You should back them up. But at the same time, you also purchase the right to express your opinion.
Were you more bothered with the way that he wrote it? I mean, the way that the message was delivered, or was it the actual message itself?
I personally don't even have anything against what he said, to be honest with you. I mean, someone has to do it. I mean, you know, you kind of expect a lot from your team.
Right.
As a fan, I figure you expect a lot from your fans to have your back. You know, I mean, I think it goes both ways.
Right, but at the same time, if the fans paying their hard-earned dollars, right? You go to a hockey game, you take a family out to a hockey game right now. Hockey's a perfect example. It's supposed to be the national sport. You know, father of two can barely take his family out to a hockey game if you're middle class working a 9 to 5. If you don't want to be sitting in the grandstands right at the top, but. Do they not have the fair share? Do they not have the right to say, you know what, I'm paying for this. I'm paying good money. This is not about it being affordable anymore. This is a luxury for me to come here, and I want to show. I want a good product on the ice.
I think the fan has the right to do whatever he wants, right? If he feels that the players are not playing to their potential and he feels like throwing their jerseys onto the ice, it's good for them, you know?
Yeah, but what about the athletes, though? Should they, I mean, do the athletes have the right to be
If the
upset about
athlete's
that?
making a couple $1 million a year and he has a hard time dealing with that, then he should stop playing the sport, you know?
Would you ever criticize, would you ever come out and criticize a fan like that? If, for example, you're at a track meet and the fans are not supportive of you because Canada's not done well in the last X amount of world championships,
you know,
and they're not supporting you, they're coming out and they're saying, you know what, Nick, we want change. We don't want you to be the go-to guy.
Well, for me, it didn't bother me at all because I'm there to do my best. And if the fan wants to kind of bash me, which happened many, many times.
Did you ever retaliate?
Absolutely not. You know what I mean? I'm doing my best. And the fan, if he thinks I'm not doing it, he could cheer for the guy next to me.
With regards to the actual players coming out that way and calling out the fan, we've seen James Dolan, we've seen a few owners come out, and the way that they're doing it, I think one of the things that bothers them is the actual message, is the way that they're delivering the message, right? Not a lot, you're starting to see Kevin Durant do that more and more with trying to retaliate back to the fans. It seems like it's getting under the skin a little bit more, but ultimately, you know, the team needs to perform. You have to deliver, or else the fans have the right to complain.
I agree, but there's nothing worse than coming home from a long road trip. Maybe the road trip didn't go the way you wanted to. You lost 2-3 games on the road.
Yeah.
You're coming home to the the comfort of your home court advantage or your home field advantage, whatever sport you're playing on, and you don't have the fans backing you day in and day out, you're going to say, we just came off a 3-game Rome streak. We're coming home. What pushes the athlete besides the $1 million and the Rolex and the Bentley to go out and get those wins?
It's a privilege to play for the Montreal Canadiens, right? And if the fans are bashing you, it shouldn't bother you.
So you think it's a professional standpoint? You think it's a lack of professionalism
absolutely.
from the
Just like
athlete?
in any job, if you're getting bashed at because you're not performing, you know, it's part of the game. It's part of the job. They signed up for that, you know?
Yeah, but athletes are already hard on themselves as is. I mean, if you're making all the money and, you know, in the world, sometimes you might say that they're only playing for the salary. But at the same time, you'll see a lot of guys who are, they're working hard out there. They want to win. They even say, we're not trying to lose out here. And then if you don't have your fan support, I mean, it's kind of hard to even care when you're at home. You got other fans coming and filling up your building. I mean, you're not playing for anything. You're playing for the fans, but are you though? Like,
you two definitely have my support as we continue on here at Reid Between the Lines. Don't go anywhere. There's a lot more sports talk happening right here on Reid Between the Lines. Don't want to miss it.
Reid Between the Lines is brought to you by Diadora. Available at diadora.com.
Hi, I'm Anthony Stevenson. You're watching Reid Between the Lines.
Al Heyman, boxing mystery man, seems to be methodically taking over the sport with multiple new network deals. Is he the savior that boxing so desperately needed? We welcome back Jesse Ferret, Nick Macrozaneris, Anthony Cornelli. With this deal that he's signing now with network television, he's bringing boxing back. Any boxing fan will tell you it's exciting. It's finally back in the mainstream. Is this enough? Is he the guy that boxing needed? We'll go with you, Jesse.
You know, when you throw $20 million out to get 24 fights in, the guy's got a plan, and as a fan...
So you don't think this is a cash in? You think that this is a long-term plan with him? It's not only a one-time off?
I would think so. I would think that he's probably going long-term with this. It's starting out like this with the 24 fights. As a fan, I want to see this. I mean, if I could watch boxing on regular cable television, more the better. I want to watch that. I think a lot of fans would probably agree with that. I mean, I'll throw it to one of you guys if you disagree with that, but I mean, as the fan, the more boxing I can watch without having to pay for it or without getting the channels that I also have to pay for, the better for me.
And that's been a knock too with regards to boxing, that the visibility hasn't been there. You haven't had the best fight the best at their best, right? That's one of the things that people have knocked, but monopolies as a whole tend to be a little bit dangerous.
I have to agree with my man right here. I mean, he's not a stupid guy. He's got a degree from Harvard. He's an intelligent businessman. He knows what he's doing. If people think he's monopolizing the boxing world, that's fine. I don't think he's one of those over-the-top boxing advisors, as he likes to call himself. He's not a promoter, that are front and center above the actual boxer. He stays behind the scenes. He doesn't get involved with him promoting himself. He focuses on the fighters, and he's looking out for the fighters and their interest in trying to get them a lot of money and trying to get them more exposure by being on local TV.
And I think that with regards to him taking this move, I think the intention's right. I think it's a great move. The question is, can this work past the first or second card? We know the first card is stacked. We know the second one will be equally as great. The question is, in the third, fourth, and fifth, is it going to be enough to sustain boxing? Do you think it's a good move? Do you think that he's the guy that boxing needed to bring it back to the levels of MMA is right now?
I think boxing is, for me, the past couple of years, it was a turnoff. A lot of inconsistencies. To have somebody come in there and try to deliver something nice to the fans, I think for me it's a plus.
Do you think that the promoters have been the biggest issue, not being able to get the best fight their best? I mean, that's always been a knock.
I just think
and
overall,
he's trying to avoid that, right?
I think overall, boxing was very unstable, unpredictable. There was a lot of weird stuff going on. If it's something more stable and a nice platform where they could showcase the boxers on national TV, that's fantastic.
Yeah, network television is definitely a plus for boxing. It definitely needs to go to that level. And obviously with Floyd and Manny going toe-to-toe in May, there's a lot of eyes right now. This is the opportunity that boxing has. The question is, does it have enough legs? Does it have enough power to move forward past a one-time deal on television? Will people tune in at their afternoon cards? He signed, I believe, either 6 or 9 afternoon cards on Saturdays. That's pushing it, right? Asking the fan who you're even trying to get during prime time to get to tune in on Saturdays.
I think the little rivalry that he's creating between he's involved with CBS, what's involved with Showtime, and that little rivalry between Showtime and HBO might make for better boxing in the future, because HBO is going to go out and spend that money to try to bring in the big cards, the big fighters, and he's trying to do the same thing with the people and the networks that he's working with, so it can only do good for the sport.
You kind of look at what the UFC has done over the last 20 years, and you see how they have the Fox Sunday fight nights.
Yeah. Well, you have Friday night. You have a variety of events that happen.
Right, exactly, and that's on regular TV, and everybody tunes into that. And I feel like it kind of brings people more involved because they're able to watch anything that's on TV.
Yeah.
And then then they get more interested to actually pay for the pay-per-view and do things like that. But I think this will actually help boxing. I think that adding more boxing so that everybody can see it is beneficial because I think that's what the UFC's done well.
But do you think, I mean, the reason why the UFC format works well is also because of the way that they've structured it. They don't have 5, 6 different types of belts. They don't have guys who will not fight in certain belts. I mean, they have a very simple structure, and as they always say, simple is better sometimes. So it's not that easy with regards to MMA and boxing, but I want to switch gears, guys, because after the break, we're going into our Pretender Contender segment to see who can be the Canadian Athlete of the Year. You guys are going to be shocked with what I have to say when we come back. Stay with us.
Reid Between the Lines is brought to you by lavalcosm.com. It's ball hockey time.
Hey Montreal, hey sports fans, I'm Tony Marinaro, and you're watching Reid Between the Lines with Adam Reid.
Michael Kingsbury has been doing his best Ronda Rousey impression on the ski slopes. After his record-breaking performance, are we already looking at the Canadian Athlete of the Year? Gentlemen, welcome back. 7 back-to-back FIS World Cup championships. He broke the record with 28 total. He's done it at 18 less events than the one who holds the record. Is he up for Canadian Athlete of the Year?
I don't see why not. I mean, I can't personally think of anybody else that can get that. I mean, you look at Eugenie Bouchard, she hasn't done as well. Milos Raonic, a lot of those guys will come into play. Haley Humphreys, I believe, won this award last year for bobsleigh. So, you look at a sport like moguls.
GSP's injured as well, so he's out of the running as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You look at a sport like moguls, and maybe it's not the most popular thing that you'll see on TV every day, but I mean, what the guy does day in and day out, every single time he competes, is he wins. And he has 9 more championships.
You're itching to get in there, Anthony.
I can't agree with you. I know you're making some good points. I have to go with Pretender on this one. I mean, he has medaled in the last 6 World Championships, including 2 golds. He is 22 years old. But we all remember, or do we all remember Jean-Luc Brassard in '94, the Lillehammer Games? He won that medal in the moguls. He did a couple of McDonald's commercials, and no one ever heard of him again. So for him breaking all these records, I still don't see how he could take over the spotlight for Carey Price right now, who is, arguably going to win the Hart, arguably going to win the Vezina.
Nick, I want to throw this question out to you because I think it's really important. We talked about Carey Price. How do you guys feel with regards to professional athletes being intertwined with amateur athletes, right? With regards to the Canadian of the Year, Canadian Athlete of the Year.
Right.
Do you think that that's fair? Do you think that pro athletes should have their own category and amateur athletes have their own?
I think that it should be separate because for hockey, they get exposure on a daily basis
Right,
versus for us, like track and field athletes, it's a cycle of every 4 years. So, it's 2 different settings.
Do you feel that sometimes the accomplishments of those amateur athletes are overshadowed by, you look at Sidney Crosby winning, you look at Wayne Gretzky winning, a few others, and chances are, I hate to agree with you, but I really do believe Carey Price has a shot because of the season he's having. But ask me to put Carey Price versus Kingsbury in terms of what Kingsbury's been able to do, and considering the plateau he has, which is very minimal, like you were saying before, I think that's pretty impressive, and that's worthy of him to win it.
Everybody knows Alex Bilodeau. I mean, we saw Kingsbury in the Olympics, but everybody remembers Alex Bilodeau for doing the same thing.
Talk about clutch.
Right.
Talk about clutch for Bilodeau. I mean,
exactly.
He comes through in the clutch.
And then you got to think that Bilodeau has 9 less world championships than Kingsbury.
Yeah.
He's got 18. So then everyone's starting to wonder, Kingsbury, he already made a splash a little bit in the Olympics, obviously fell behind Bilodeau, everyone's fan favorite, but now he keeps winning everything else.
Right.
I mean, he's got to get a lot more attention. I can't disagree with Carey Price. I mean, the season he's putting up is phenomenal. But at the same time, you gotta go with the guy who's playing by himself, It's not like a sport with anybody else. It's all about him.
But in all defense, though, in all fairness, Carey Price's individual numbers and what he's able to do and his save percentage, his Corsi, his Fenwick, I mean, he's the one that's handling that load all by himself.
Well, yeah,
so
the defense are there to help him as well.
Right, but the bigger chunk of it is how well Carey Price is playing. However, I'm more curious to know in terms of the validity of this award, right? You say Canadian Athlete of the Award. I'm just wondering if it's fair to kind of put Carey Price and Kingsbury in the same category when what Kingsbury's been able to do is bring attention to a sport that never gets the attention or the rightful respect.
The award is Canadian Athlete of the Year. Regardless if you're an amateur or professional, it shouldn't make a difference because it's Canadian Athlete of the Year. And I'm a team sports guy. I've always played team sports and never participated in individual sports as Nick has done, but I believe that Carey Price carrying the Montreal Canadiens alone, he does have a defense in front of him, but how well is that defense playing knowing that Carey Price is going to stop every single shot coming there, plus the rebound? He's catching Martin Brodeur for most wins in a single NHL season. You know, his goals against average is under 2. He's, like I said, going to pick up some silverware, maybe even the Stanley Cup or a deep run. And right now, I mean,
if Carey Price gets injured tomorrow, God forbid, he misses the rest of the season, does Kingsbury win the award?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I still think Carey Price can take that.
We'll agree to disagree. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure to have you both on. Thanks for taking the time. Jesse, I know you have a lot going on. You're a baseball guy. Huge things coming up in April for you, so we're looking forward to maybe having you back. But you're involved with a charity. I'd love for you to tell our people who are watching. Right.
I'm working, I'm going to be taking part in the fundraiser Curling for Kids. It's on March 28th, so we're raising as much money as possible. You can go on curlingforkids.com. Also on my Twitter, you can click on the link there and donate straight to my team that I have going. And all the proceeds go to children's hospitals, so St. Justine, Montreal Children's Hospitals.
Great initiative, and we'll make sure to put that up on our Facebook page. Nick, thanks for taking the time. What do you have going on? I know you're working with the tracks and all sorts of different things going on.
Yeah, I operate a track club, finalpush.ca, and I help athletes improve their speed, since it's something I studied for over a decade.
Thanks for taking the time for both of you.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. Thanks. Stay with us. My rant is up next. You don't want to miss it.
Read Between the Lines is brought to you by enconfiance.ca. Find your dream home. Read Between the Lines is brought to you by tilmar.ca. Innovative designs in the ceramic industry.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. You see, it wasn't a long time ago I had doubt, despair, and even disdain in my heart for Habs goaltender Carey Price. I too scoffed at him being the long-awaited answer between the pipes. When then GM Bob Gainey traded Yaroslav Halak, I was on suicide watch for a month. In short, I lost hope. But now I am saved. I've seen the error of my ways and I have seen the light. I am now a Carey convert. Price has shown dominance unlike anything we've ever seen before. He can reach a feat that has not been achieved in almost 20 years in hockey's holy trifecta, capturing the Vezina, Hart, and Ted Lindsay Award in the same season. Take a look at what Price is accomplishing this year, and if you read between the lines, you'll see it's an open shut case. First, to put Price's achievements into perspective, let's look at the only player in the history of the game to accomplish it twice, Hall of Famer Dominik Hasek. In the mid-1990s, the Dominator was the best in the business, plain and simple. Now, let's take a look at one of his best seasons, in 1998 when he led the Sabres to the Stanley Cup Finals. 30 wins, 9 shutouts, 1.87 goals against average, and a sterling 94% save percentage. Not bad. Now, let's look at Price. 36 wins, 6 shutouts, 1.8 goals against average, and a 94% save percentage. This is with 20 games left. Not convinced yet? All right. Consider what Price has done in the light of the two no-hockey metrics, the Corsi and the Fenwick, which measures a team possession and relative shots on goal. In that area, Montreal ranks 23rd and 20th. So to put it in simple terms, despite his team being grossly outshot and outpossessed, Price has bailed the Canadians out more often than the U.S. government. Sure, we didn't have advanced analytics in the Hasek era, but we do now. And once we look at them carefully, if you look at the numbers, Carey is scary. His performance has been the only thing keeping the Habs at the top of the Eastern Conference. Think about it. Roy, Brodeur, Dryden, none of them have been able to achieve Carey Price and what he's about to do and how deserving he is of it this year. Folks, Carey Price's performance isn't just impressive, it's historic. And we're looking at the single most dominant performance by a goaltender ever. If Price continues at this pace, he might just capture a fourth piece of hardware. You know, the kind paraded downtown St. Catherine Street. You gotta admit, he's got us believing. We'll leave it to you to read between the lines. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Adam Reid. Thanks for being with us.
Catering services courtesy of piattorustico.com. Authentic Italian cuisine. Adam Reid's wardrobe provided by Carve. Available at carve.ca. Salon services powered by Glam Atelier, la maison de beauté. Guest of the Read Between the Lines show stay at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites, Montreal Airport. Transportation services by AmbianceLimousines.com.